Hey everyone, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk. Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm Chris Lee Kennedy, and this is the show where we bring you the day's biggest movie news, and of course, we're going to give you insight into what it all means. Joining me, as always, is AMC Movie News Senior Editor, Mr. John Campea.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. Morning, Chris Lee. And, yesterday I mentioned again on the show that The Amazing Spider-Man, the new one directed by Mark Webb and starring Andrew Garfield, is better in every single way, except for maybe the musical score. But it's better in every single way than the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man. And a lot of you got on to the chat board to protest the fact that I said such things. Well, I defy you. I defy you. I defy you. That's all I got.
I love getting things started like that. That's a great way to start. We also have joining us the man who makes us look and sound good every day in the studio, Mr. Dennis Sang.
Hello, everyone. I am back from my self-induced coma that I put myself in from after Comic-Con, and now I'm rejuvenated to join you all.
Fantastic. We're going to get things started with this. As most of you will remember, Avengers director Joss Whedon recently stated that Thor and Avengers villain and fan favorite Loki, played by Tom Hiddleston, would not be appearing in the upcoming sequel, Avengers Age of Ultron. In an interview this week, Hiddleston addressed his absence from the film by saying this: I think it's great for the film that I'm not going to be in it because I'm so proud of the first one. Joss and I, there were so many things that we both loved about it. And in a way, if I was in it, we'd be chasing those moments. We'd be chasing that again. The Avengers need a new bad guy to fight. They need new things to do. But for the film, I'll be waving them off and saying, good luck, have fun. And I'll be in the front row when it comes out. John, what do you make of these comments from Hiddleston?
Disappointed. I mean, we would expect nothing less from Tom Hiddleston. Extremely classy comments from an extremely classy guy. And I believe him. But here's the big fear. These comments to me kind of reaffirm a fear I've been having. And that fear is that Tom Hiddleston, aka Loki, is going to die in the next Thor. Because in those comments, it didn't sound like, yeah, I'm just going to sit this one out, or yeah, hey, it's a good time to bring in somebody else and I'll come back. No, it was, I get the sense from these comments that Tom Hiddleston is saying, I'm done. I'll be in the front row. I'm a fan from now on. Now he didn't directly say that, so I don't want to make it sound like I'm representing that Tom Hiddleston is officially saying he's going to die. Not at all. I'm just saying that's what I'm kind of reading into a statement that it's like, this sounds like the final farewell speech from a dude leaving a team, and that would disappoint me. Now, look, just because Loki's a great villain doesn't mean we need Loki in every single Marvel movie, in every single Avengers movie. No, not at all. Would I have liked to have seen him in the next Avengers? Sure, but I'm also really cool with let's take a break from him. Just like you don't put Thor in every single Marvel movie. You don't put Captain America in every single Marvel movie. You don't put Loki in every single Marvel movie, but If I'm right, and I hope I'm wrong, I'm not really convinced of this, but if I'm right and he dies in Thor 2, I'm going to be really kind of disappointed. Dennis, what do you think?
I think he's being really sincere with those comments, and I think he really hopes the best for it. I don't know if he's going to die or not in Thor 2, but as we've seen many times before, if you die, it doesn't mean that you don't come back. So, maybe he's taking a break. And I do... as much as I liked Loki in Avengers and even in the first Thor, I don't want to see the same villain again,
Yeah.
Like, as much as I love Joker, do I want to see Joker in every single Batman movie? No. But I think if Loki made a small cameo in Avengers 2, I think that would have been nice. But if he doesn't, that's okay.
You know what? If he does die, here's the reason why I love this Loki character so much. He's never been a one-dimensional mustache twirling villain. Whoa. Like, there's always been like a sense of conflict about this character, and we've talked about that a lot. That, in Thor 1, when you really boil it down, he was just a dude who wanted the love and respect of his father. And there were moments of conflict with him about the things we're doing. In Avengers, you could see that too. There were moments of conflict that he struggled with that, no, I'm going to do this. But there were parts of his nature that you could tell were pulling at him to not do it at the same time. And I love that. And I have a feeling that if he does die in Thor 2, I really hope he goes out with a Boromir moment. You know, because Boromir in Lord of the Rings, like he was trying to get the ring away from Frodo, but in the end, he died trying to protect the hobbits. And I hope that if Loki dies in Thor 2, that he has that kind of an end, that he has the kind of an end where he dies defending his family, defending his brother, maybe saving Natalie Portman or defending Asgard or something like that. Like I said, I don't know if that's going to happen, but the way the character's been so far, I hope that's the way they go.
I don't think he's going to die. I think that we could actually see a Loki standalone movie someday because the fans love and adore this bad guy so much.
They really
That's what
do.
I'm hoping for. X-Men First Class star James McAvoy has signed on to join the upcoming Fox film Frankenstein, not to be confused with the upcoming Aaron Eckhart film I, Frankenstein. McAvoy will be playing Dr. Victor Frankenstein and joins Harry Potter star Daniel Radcliffe, who was cast earlier this year to play Igor. Chronicle writer Max Landis wrote the screenplay for the film and said this about it. I began to pick apart our knowledge of Frankenstein and discovered that the public's idea of this myth comes from a million different places. Landis told ShockedToYouDrop.com last year, I became committed to recontextualizing it all so it all worked in one story. By the end of the day, it's a period piece, and yes, it's from Igor's perspective. But man, it's cool. It's the best thing I've written. John, are you looking forward to Frankenstein?
I wasn't going to. To be honest, like right now there's a small film out already called Frankenstein's Army. We got the Aaron Eckhart film I, Frankenstein coming. And now we hear that Fox has a Frankenstein movie coming. Now granted, they all sound like three very different films, but still based on Frankenstein. And seeing James McAvoy playing Dr. Frankenstein, hearing that's going to be told from the perspective of Igor with Daniel Radcliffe, I think that's pretty interesting. I'm still waiting for Daniel Radcliffe to have that moment, to have that role where we just stop instantly thinking of Harry Potter when we look at him. Now, we're always going to associate Harry Potter with Daniel, no doubt. And that's not a bad thing. But I just hope he can get that role under his belt, that film under his belt, that when we look at him, we don't just instantly think Harry Potter. We think Daniel Radcliffe, the actor. But the thing that makes me excited about this is hearing a guy like Max Landis, who is a terrific talent, say, this is the best thing I've ever written. Now, you expect to hear that from people doing the publicity circuit and the publicity tour for a film, but we're not at that point yet. And if you've watched any of Max Landis' stuff on YouTube, you know he's not a BS artist either. And if he's saying that he believes this is the best thing he's ever written, then I believe that he thinks this is the best thing he's ever written. And that makes me really darn curious to see it. So for that reason alone, I'm looking forward to it. Dennis, what about you?
Yeah, I'm the same way. At first when I was reading it, I was like, oh, I'm not really that interested until I saw that Max Landis was writing it, and he wrote Chronicle. So I'm interested in the take that he's going to have, and that we see something different. That it's not going to be the same old Frankenstein story, and that he's going to bring a fresh spin on it. So once his name pops in there, I'm immediately much more interested. But before I was like, okay now.
Agreed.
All right. Hey, you know what we haven't had in at least a month, guys?
What's that, Chris Lee?
A new Nicolas Sparks movie!
Yay!
And the author who has had no less than 8 of his novels turned into movies has another one on the way. This time, the story destined to have a movie poster with a man tenderly holding a woman's face, getting ready to kiss her, is The Best of Me. The story for The Best of Me is described like this. In the spring of 1984, high school students Amanda Collier and Dawson Cole fell deeply, irrevocably in love. Though they were from the opposite sides of the tracks, their love for one another seemed to defy the realities of life in the small town of Oriental, North Carolina. But as the summer of their senior year came to a close, unforeseen events would tear the young couple apart, setting them on radically divergent paths. Now, 25 years later, Amanda and Dawson are summoned back to Oriental for the funeral of Tuck Hostler, the mentor who once gave shelter to their high school romance. Dennis, any predictions on how this movie will turn out? Come on, Dennis.
Just hearing that synopsis is like boring a hole through my head.
No.
Oh, no. How's it gonna turn out?
Yeah.
You heard you guys all heard the synopsis. You know how it's gonna turn out. No.
I'm going to bring up this poster, these sets of posters again, and you weren't kidding, Chris Lee. Like, almost all these posters is a close-up of a man and a woman with the man gently holding the woman's head as they're going in for a kiss. That's all of them. That's all of them. How's this movie going to turn out? I'm going to go out on a limb here. It's going to turn out that the man and the woman reignite their love and end up together. Now, I haven't read the book. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I've read the book.
Really? You haven't read the book, John? I'm so shocked.
You guys are terrible.
I don't know. Maybe this film ends with an alien invasion. Maybe the book ends with a zombie apocalypse, and that guy you just described, Tuck, who sheltered their hidden high school love, maybe he comes back from the dead as the king of the zombies, and it turns out to be a damn cool movie. I don't know. I haven't read the book, but yeah, this is standard Nicolas Sparks fare. I mean, we read and you know what? Look. All due respect to people who hate anything that has to do with Nicolas Sparks, he's got an audience, right? Yes. I mean, it's kind of like, it's no less a valid subgenre. Nicolas Sparks movies have turned into their own subgenre in many, many ways. And it's no less, even though they're not geared for my tastes, and that's fine, it's no less a valid subgenre than zombie comedies or whatever. You know, these things that have a certain audience that will always appeal to them. And you know what? Even though, you know, the Nicolas Sparks films are not designed to appeal to me, and they certainly don't appeal to me, I know there are a lot of people that they do appeal to and will be looking forward to. What's the name of this new one, Chris Lee?
The Best of Me.
The Best of Me. There are many people who are going to be looking forward to the Best of Me movie, and more power to them, because you know what? I've always said it. It's the best thing about film that it's all subjective. Just because I love something doesn't mean you need to love it. And just because you love something doesn't mean I need to love it. And that is certainly the case with Nicolas Sparks films. But I know a lot of people personally that are going to rush out to see it. I'm just taking a wild guess here that Dennis and I will not be among them.
Well, you two don't go see this. I actually have read this book, surprisingly, and I'm a huge Nicolas Sparks fan.
Does a zombie apocalypse break out?
There's no zombies. There's no race cars or Transformers. I'm very sad to inform you of this, but I am a sucker for a good love story, and Nicolas Sparks books just pull at my heart. But I'm actually really disappointed that it's The Best of Me. This story is so much like The Notebook. It's very similar, where they fell in love, wrong side of the tracks, broken apart, come back together. So to me, there's so many better choices for Nicolas Sparks. And after seeing the last disaster Nicolas Sparks movie, I'm really nervous about this one. So I'm a Nicolas Sparks fan, but not excited about this movie.
All right.
The latest incarnation of film's most legendary monster, Godzilla, hits AMC theaters everywhere on May 16th, 2014. While still just under a year away, that hasn't stopped director Gareth Edwards from thinking about a possible sequel and what it may entail. In a recent interview with our friends at Screen Rant, Edwards said the following: "With the exception of the 1954 original, I would say my second favorite film is Destroy All Monsters. I just love the idea of a monster island. Having a world with these creatures in it, I find that fascinating and would like to treat that realistically. I wouldn't want to limit it to one other foe. I think it's more fun too. This question will come back to haunt me if we ever do a sequel, but I think multiple creatures make better movies in terms of the image of Gojira." John, what would you think of an island of monsters in a Godzilla sequel?
Sign me up. Sign me up. I'm looking forward to Godzilla. The whole idea of bringing like an island of monsters kind of thing into it, where you give it a lot of unique designs. I mean, yeah, obviously when I think of an island of monsters right now, I am forced to think a little bit about kaiju. Obviously from Pacific Rim. But, you know, that just makes me more excited, because you saw how each kaiju in Pacific Rim was so uniquely designed and uniquely put together that I would be really even more excited to see what they do with Godzilla. And there are so many classic Godzilla monsters that you could bring. Who doesn't want to see Mecha Godzilla? Come on. Mecha Godzilla. I don't know. Dennis, am I crazy here? What are you thinking when you hear about this?
I think it's cool. The only thing that's curious about it is that he wants to do a realistic take on it. And
that's tough.
If you've ever watched that movie, Destroy All Monsters, and just the synopsis of it, it's like they have all those kaiju on an island together that they're just like deciding to study and whatnot. It just sounds like a recipe for disaster. So I don't know how realistic that take is going to be, but I do want to see like all the Godzilla monsters like Rodan and Mechagodzilla, Godzilla's. I don't know if they're going to do Godzilla's son though. I don't know if you remember Godzilla's son, but he kind of looked like a little doughboy.
Wasn't there a cartoon called Godzilla and Godzuki? Remember that cartoon?
Oh, yeah.
The theme song was like, Godzilla, dun, 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 and Godzuki. And you had this cute little Godzilla flying around sort of thing. That's good memories. Good times.
But Did I'll go watch fall in love?
Godzilla in a Nicolas Sparks book. You heard it here first. That's the next thing that's going to come.
In the poster's going to be Godzilla tenderly holding another monk's kaiju.
Sign me up. Another paycheck coming to Dennis Zen from Hollywood. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show called Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a topic or a question you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Now, we do our best to get to a couple of questions every single day. Right now, Chris Lee's got a few of them pulled out. So, Chris Lee, what do we got?
Armando Almonte writes, "Hi everyone, I've been watching the show faithfully for months. Thanks for my daily fix of movie knowledge. After backtracking one of your older shows covering Star Wars Episode 7, I started to think about the first time I saw A New Hope and how early and unexpected Ben Kenobi's death came at the hands of Vader. Or when Qui-Gon Jinn met his demise during his battle with Darth Maul in Episode 1. My question to you guys is, do you think we might see the death of one of the core three, Luke, Leia, or Han? I know it's almost impossible to think about it. We all have an emotional attachment to these characters, but could it happen, or are they untouchable? Love the show and keep up the awesome job."
That's a great question, actually. And I hadn't thought about it, but you know what, Armand, I think you're right. I think there'd be a very good chance that we could see one of the big three die very early in the film. Now, this is, of course, look, it's the worst kept secret in Hollywood, granted, but we still got to say, for the record, Disney has not officially confirmed that Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, and Carrie Fisher are going to be in the film. There's been no big official announcement, but like I said, it's the worst kept secret in Hollywood right now. So let's assume for a moment that the big three will be in there. Now that you mention it, yeah, I think there's a very good chance we could see Han, Luke, or Leia die fairly early in the film. Now some people then say to me, but John, in the books, they don't, we got to have this conversation all the time. In the books doesn't matter because the movies are not beholden to the books. The books don't matter. The movies can draw some source material from the books if they choose, but the books do not matter when it comes to the movies. They can do whatever they want in the movies. And that includes have Luke die early, or have Han die early, or have Leia die early. Hopefully heroically. Maybe they're fighting alongside Loki, trying to save Asgard. I don't know. It's all Disney, right? So, yeah, I think it's a really neat idea. Dennis, do you think that could be a possibility?
It's a possibility, and if out of the three following the pattern, it would be Luke then. Out of those three.
Oh, yeah, I guess it would be.
Because he's like the Jedi Master, and he's older, and maybe he sacrifices himself for whatever reason, or he's fighting someone, and he dies heroically. So out of those three, then I think it would be Luke, if it were to happen.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, what's next?
Craig writes, "Greetings to all. Love the show. My question is, do you think it's a good idea for them to take inspiration from Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns for the Man of Steel sequel? Don't get me wrong, it's a great story, but in it, Superman is made out to be a bit of a douchebag, and my fear is that after the great return to form that Man of Steel was, they go and spoil Superman. What do you guys think?"
Dennis, what do you think?
I don't think it's a bad idea to take some ideas and tone and things from The Dark Knight Returns. I don't think it's not like they're going to take the story and replicate it, because they can't. I mean, that's a story about a really old Batman and a really old Superman. Well, I mean, Superman doesn't really age, but he's supposed to be older, and their relationship together, they've known each other for so many years and fought together and all this stuff. So we're not going to have that in the next Man of Steel, which is the Batman versus Superman one. So while they may borrow some elements from it, it's not going to be quite the same. So I wouldn't worry too much about Superman being a douche or anything like that. They're not going to take that part from it.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. As a matter of fact, I think, when you look at the Dark Knight stuff, Here's the deal. I actually thought Superman was pretty true to character. And did he come across a little douchebaggy? Yes. But here's the thing that I try to keep in mind when I think about that. And that's if any of us stay true to our own sets of principles, then there are going to be certain circumstances that we could be thrown into that if we stay true to our own set of circumstances, we will appear as douchebags. And in Man of Steel, I kind of had the sense that even though he came across as like, oh, come on, Clark, a few times, I still had the sense that he was staying true to the core values of who Superman was. He was just put into a certain set of circumstances where his core values kind of made him out to look like a douchebag, like it would with any of us. That being said, Dennis is absolutely right. I mean, this isn't going to be Batman Returns, the movie. But I think it's clear there are going to be elements taken from that. The very fact that they use the greatest passage of all time from any comic book, with Batman, talking to Clark about how he's just defeated him. That's really cool. But that's more to set up the fact, I think, that the movie is going to be pitting Batman against Superman in the new movie, not necessarily that they're going to be following the Frank Miller novel. And there's a great animated film online right now that you can find for Batman Returns, The Dark Knight Returns, and it's really well done. Very, very faithful to the original graphic novel. Looks a lot like the graphic novel, too. So I suggest you go check that out. It's available online. But yeah, I'm totally fine with it. I don't think we have any problems or any fears of them suddenly changing the Henry Cavill Superman to making him a douchebag. I don't think that's going to happen.
All right. Carlos Slade writes, hey, staff. Hope all is well. Love the show. I wanted to know if y'all heard any news for God of War movie in development. Who would be your cast for lead role? My opinion, I would like the movie to tie in with the new Clash of the Titans series and allow Kratos to destroy all 300 style.
First of all, there's no chance that you're going to see this tie in with Clash of the Titans. No chance. Have I mentioned that there's no chance? Okay, so let's get that out of the way. So this is a really Kratos, and I hope I'm saying his name right, is a really cool character in the books. I mean, he looks so badass too, the way he's designed and all that kind of stuff. Now, the last I heard, here's all I know about the God of War movie project. They are trying to move forward with it. They've been trying to move forward with it for like 6 years. The last I heard, well, first let's jump back about 5 years ago. Brett Ratner was actually kind of attached to direct it at one point. That was like 5 years ago. So the guy who directed X-Men,
Last Stand.
Last Stand, thank you. I was going to say Last X-Men Days of Future Past, which hasn't even come out yet. Yeah, the guy who directed X-Men 3, and of course he directed the Rush Hour films, and he was on board for a short time, apparently, to direct. The script was written, but then they brought in a new set of screenwriters named Marcus Dustin and Patrick Melton, I believe are the names. They wrote other films such as Piranha 3DD. I believe they wrote Saw 4. And they wrote The Collector. And they wrote a couple of other, like, films, similar genre and stuff like that. And they actually had a very interesting take. When I heard them talking about their take when they were writing the God of War script, they wanted, first of all, Ares to have a much more relevant role in the movie than he does in the game. Because in the game, he doesn't show up that much. He's actually got a very light presence in the game. So they wanted him to have a much more strong presence in the overall film. They wanted us to see Kratos with his family. Like they were talking about, like the first half hour of their script was going to be him with his family, because they believe if they handled it like the video game, and this is very true, then general audiences wouldn't feel his pain. They wouldn't feel his need for revenge. And for those of you who don't know, Kratos is a human, regular human being. He's a warlord. He's a warrior. Makes a deal with the god of war, Ares. And the consequences of that deal is that I believe his whole town and his family die and are murdered. So now you got this mortal Kratos who's on this epic quest to seek revenge and wants to kill the god of war, Ares. So that's the idea. And so the screenwriters, their whole thing was, if we just kind of launch into it like the game does, the general audience isn't going to feel his pain and understand and relate with his desire for revenge. So their whole idea was, let's make the whole first half hour more normal and then really launch into it. And I think that's a really good idea. However, it's been almost a year since I've heard anything else come out of it. Now, I haven't heard that they canceled the film or anything like that, but as far as I know right now, they still don't have a director. They're still no closer to having a cast or actually going into production. I think this movie might be on the shelf. I hope I'm wrong. Dennis, have you heard anything different?
No, I haven't really heard anything different. And actually, I don't really know that much about God of War. I'm actually an Xbox guy. I don't own a PS3. The game looks cool. The character looks cool. I actually learned a lot about this storyline just now from you talking. But it's in terms of like the lead cast, like just seeing kind of what the character like looks like and tonally, I think someone like a Tom Hardy could play that role, you know, like from Warrior, you know, like that badass. And
Bane, of course.
So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, he could, but the thing is, he's such a, and when you look at the design of him, and I'll bring up an image here of him. When you look at the design of Kratos, that's a hard dude to cast. Now, some people have suggested because of the physical appearance, what's that professional wrestler's name? Goldberg. That was the wrestler's name. Goldberg. So a lot of people, when they think of this, they think of Goldberg. I'll bring the picture back up. And, you know, you can kind of see the similarities a little bit there. But, I mean, Goldberg's not a legit actor. And I think you'd want to have a real actor, especially if they're going to do what the screenwriters are talking about, which is actually go into his family life and, you know, his love and all that kind of stuff and have to really understand and feel his sense of pain or revenge. Then you need a legit actor. And if you're going to go with a legit actor, you obviously can't get somebody that looks like this guy. So you just have to get as close as you can. All right, folks. Well, that'll do it for us. We've run all out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, while I've got you, take a second and click on the subscribe button. Become a subscriber to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. Keep you up to date on everything going on in the world of movie news and, of course, our daily AMC Movie Talk show and our weekend AMC Mailbag show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AMC Theaters. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/AMC Theaters. And if you want an audio-only version of this episode, look down in the description of this video and you'll find links to our iTunes and our Stitcher Radio. I want to thank, as always, our lovely host, Miss Chris Lee Kennedy. Chris Lee, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Lee. And thanks for being a part of our rumor mill yesterday.
Also, our very own production manager at AMC Movie News, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, and you can find me on Facebook at just my name.
And my name is John Campia. You can find me on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or anywhere at John Campia. It's very simple to follow. Anyway, guys, the most important part of the show clearly is not what we have to say. It's what you have to say. So make sure you jump on down to the comments section. Leave your comments and thoughts on any or all the topics that we discussed here today. Keep it respectful, but I guarantee you we read just about every single comment in there. So thanks a lot for joining us. Until next time, my name's John Campia, and until then, bye-bye.